Good morning. It's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. It's Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, and that translates into a nice dose of no BS job search advice. Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern is a time where I like to spend about 15 minutes speaking with you about some element of job hunting, because I believe that job search doesn't have to be hard or difficult or painful or take that long for that matter. It's just the skills needed to find a job are different than the skills needed to do a job. And that's where this show, as well as Job Search Radio, my other podcast, which is broadcast on webtalkradio.net, this one and that one are both in iTunes. So please feel free to go to iTunes as well as other podcast directories and subscribe to the show. Listen to individual ones, whichever one you prefer. But whether you listen to it on the web or listen to it in iTunes or some other podcast directory, I'd appreciate it if you took a moment and liked the show, left good feedback about individual episodes, shared it, help promote the show a little bit, because folks need help these days. And what I'm being told consistently by my subscribers is how helpful this show and my other one are. So again, No BS Job Search Advice Radio and Job Search Radio are both available on iTunes, have been throughout, and hope you find it helpful there. So today's show is brought to you by two sponsors. The first one is Audible. And if you go to audibletrial.com/The Big Game Hunter and sign up for a free trial, you'll also be able to receive a free audiobook with the free trial. So again, audibletrial.com/The Big Game Hunter. And I know you like audio. After all, you listen to this podcast, right? And my other sponsor is consultingassignments.com. Consultingassignments.com is a site where you can find and fill consulting assignments. What a surprise. Full-time consulting positions, temp to perm, and contract to hire opportunities anywhere in the world completely free. Posting a job or a resume is free. Searching jobs and resumes is also free, as is the ability to contact one another. The only thing the site charges for is if you're going to feature a job or a resume. It is a whopping $10 for 30 days. And if you want to feature more than one position, you're able to do that, but the price goes down pretty dramatically. So again, that's consultingassignments.com. Now, I don't know if you're able to see this, but Google Plus and Hangouts on Air has introduced a nice new little feature called Showcase, where along one of the sides, it appears as though I have the ability to show you my YouTube channel, my Google Plus account, as well as my web address. So I hope you find these helpful. And again, at the end of the show, I prefer you go to my website and go exploring there. I just think there's a lot of great content to help job hunters. So if for some reason it's not displaying, the site address is thebiggamehunter.us. This show is really about helping you, how to best put this, helping you convert from any sort of down feeling you may have about being rejected for a job, and have you consider that all things work out for the best. Now, I know that's often a hard thing for job hunters to think after putting in so much time, effort, blood, and guts into an interview, but often it is. And I keep talking to people who share that with me years later, and it reminded me of my own experience that I thought I would share with you as well. Now, I've been recruiting for more than 40 years. I think it's 43 at this point. And, there was a point very early in my career, I'd say I was within my first 2 years in the recruiting profession, that a client heard me mutter something over the phone about the frustrations of being a search professional. And he said, I have a friend who's trying to hire someone. Now, to give you an idea how long ago this was, there was still a New York telephone company at that time. And that's who his friend worked for. So New York Telephone was trying to hire someone in corporate HR to help with recruiting, and he referred me in for the interview. Now, I submitted my resume as a follow-up. I mailed it to them because fax wasn't the prevalent communication technology, and there was no internet being used by businesses. Um, so I mailed my resume to HR with a note that Larry, I won't mention his last name here, had referred me. Um, I received a call saying, yes, he mentioned me to them, and they wanted to meet with me. So I went in for the interview, went through their testing, because they did pre-interview written testing at that point, psychological testing, if my memory serves me right. Uh, I met with the hiring manager in corporate HR, who I'd be working for, and spent about 2 hours talking with him about the job and about the nature of the opportunity. So 2 hours, I'm a recruiter. This is sounding good, right? It's clear that this is, a firm that's interested in me. Now, what happens next is that he calls his friend to say nice things about me. And the admin who answers the phone, who's basically a junior recruiter for the firm, goes out of her way to shoot me down, saying a bunch of stuff that Larry would never have said. I don't know if it was true or not because I never learned what was said about me, but causing me to be rejected. Now, suffice it to say, I was very upset at that time when I heard it. And at the end of the day, was really mad. Spoke to Larry about her, said, called her up and said, what were you doing? Why'd you go out of your way to hurt me? And she said, I want that job. So this is her way of trying to knock out some competition for a role. And she wound up not getting it either, for that matter. But at the end of the day, I wound up not being hired. Now, let's fast forward. And had I been with New York Telephone, somewhere along the line, I would have lost my job, as so many tens of thousands of other people have. Being in corporate HR for that organization, I'm not speaking about other firms, it can be a great career for a lot of people. But it wouldn't have been so for me, because although that looked like your basic big stable company at that time, this is circa 1974, I think, your basic big stable company, it wound up not being so stable as they started to synthesize technology into their operation and do things more efficiently. New York Telephone as a name disappeared. Verizon is now the name. Do you even remember the name New York Telephone or NYNEX? They're now parts of their operation. No, of course not. But I got turned down, and it wound up being a wonderful thing for me. Why? Because 40 some odd years later, I think it's now 41 since that episode occurred, I'm in a role where I love what I do. I help businesses hire talent. I coach. I coach people in job hunting. I'm doing work that I really like under circumstances that I prefer far more than what I would have had at New York Telephone. So, had I gone to work there, I would have been the third drone on the 19th floor, turning in reports all day long, and speaking to recruiters who are all trying to do business with me. And it would have been a frustrating professional career for me. However, it is, what happened for me is may happen to you too. As disappointing or frustrating as it may be for you to be turned down for a job, many people report to me years later that it was the best thing that happened to them, and that they wound up taking another position at a firm that they were much better suited for, that they were doing things to accommodate the hiring firm or the hiring manager to please them, but not really thinking of their own needs. Now, in my case, many years ago, I was looking for something more stable and was thinking that going to work for a big company would provide me with that. As all of us have learned over the course of this recession, if not previous ones, being an employee of a big company is no guarantee. Management looks out for their interests, and if they need to improve profitability or if their profits are down, they're going to reduce headcount in order to be able to sustain themselves, to be able to sustain dividends to shareholders, et cetera, et cetera. So, look at it from the standpoint of what might happen if you join there. Yes, you might have a great job that you really like, but often what happens is the firm that actually hires you is better suited to you and your career and your future and gives you greater joy and passion than you might have had otherwise. So, I'm sharing from my experience that certainly has been the case. And certainly there are people who've been turned down from jobs and have gone on to the next firm, and it hasn't worked out. The way things are in the economy, nothing works out. Again, having done this for more than 40 years, the days of getting a job and working there from the time you're 20 to the time you retire are long since gone. Businesses are conducting themselves in ways that tell you very clearly that you don't have long-term futures with their organizations. So you need to think in terms of how you, as your own small business, my small business is the Big Game Hunter or the Altman organization, you have your small business that you need to think in terms of. Call it your last name incorporated. That you need to protect by joining an organization that will allow you to thrive, that believes in you, that will pay you properly, where you can learn, grow, and get ahead. The firm that shoots you down, and again, it can be a situation where you perform beautifully on the interview, you have the right skills as they defined it, but they choose someone else. Well, it wasn't meant to be. So think going forward how your next organization, the one that ultimately hires you, is the right karma for you, and how to make the best of that opportunity instead of feeling discouraged right now. Discouragement isn't going to help you get your next job. Being successful, thriving, being positive are all qualities that will help you land next. And thus, I'm encouraging you, spend the time looking forward rather than looking backward. Yes, there may be something you can learn from that experience, but look forward and know that it wasn't meant to be, and the next one will be. So that's my advice for this show. I hope you find it helpful. I also want to encourage you to come over to my website, which, as I mentioned earlier, is called thebiggamehunter.us, because I have a ton of content there that you can listen to, watch, and read to help you find work more quickly. Or you can use a lot of my content to hire people more quickly, because I have content for that as well. You can search positions I'm recruiting for at my site, post your resume to more than 50 sites for mine, use easy to work with career builder links to post your resume or apply to jobs on Career Builder. A lot of stuff to help you find work more quickly. So go over to thebiggamehunter.us and go explore it. A few final things, if I may. First of all, if your current firm is trying to hire someone, send me an email at jeff.altman@thebiggamehunter.us. I'd love to help your current firm or your next firm fill positions. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. The address is linkedin.com/in/thebiggamehunter. I accept connection requests from people worldwide, except if you look like a spammer to me, except if you're a third-party recruiter. And finally, well, I'm just going to leave it there. I hope you found today's show helpful. This is Jeff Altman. Hope you have a great day.